What if I told you there's an industry that makes billions of dollars every single year, not by selling products, not by creating innovation, but by locking people up? And right now, as you're watching this, there are people sitting in cells, generating money, not for themselves, but for a system that profits the longer they stay there. Welcome back to Behind the Money, where we break down how the biggest systems in the world really make their money. And today, we're exposing the business of prisons. Because once you see how this system really works, you won't be able to unsee it. Let's start with the numbers. In North America alone, the prison system generates tens of billions of dollars every single year. In the United States, it's estimated to be over $80 billion annually. And that's just what's visible, because once you start digging deeper, you realize something important. Not all prisons are run by the government. Some of them are private businesses. Companies like CoreCivic and GEO Group have built entire business models around incarceration, and their goal is profit. So the real question is, how do prisons actually make money? Let's break it down. First, government funding. Every inmate represents money. In many systems, governments pay prisons per inmate per day. That means the more inmates a facility holds, the more money it generates. If a prison has 1,000 inmates, and the daily rate is $100 per person, that's $100,000 every single day. Over a year, that's over $36 million from just one facility. Now multiply that across multiple prisons, and you start to see the scale. But here's where things get uncomfortable. Because if your revenue depends on having more inmates, what happens when crime goes down? Do profits go down too? That's where policies, laws, and incentives start to matter. Longer sentences, stricter laws, fewer paroles. All of these can directly impact how much money flows into the system. And by the way, we haven't even gotten to the part where the system makes even more money from inside the prison. Let's talk about labor. In many prisons, inmates work. They cook, clean, manufacture goods, even answer customer service calls. And how much do they get paid? In some cases, less than $1 an hour. Meanwhile, the value of what they produce? Millions, sometimes billions. Think about that for a second. An entire workforce with almost no bargaining power, being paid pennies while generating real economic value. And in some cases, that labor is used by outside companies, which means businesses beyond the prison walls can benefit too. Now, let's go even deeper into something most people don't realize: the prison phone system. Because this might be one of the clearest examples of how the system turns basic human needs into profit. Think about it. If someone is locked up, their only connection to the outside world is through a phone call. Family, kids, parents. That connection becomes everything, and companies have built entire businesses around it. Providers like Securus Technologies and global Tel Link control large parts of prison communication systems, and for years, they charged rates that were incredibly high. We're talking dollars per minute in some cases, which means a simple 15-minute call could cost more than what someone outside might spend on an entire day's worth of food. Now, imagine calling your child, but every minute, you're watching the cost go up. That's the reality for many families. And here's where it gets even more interesting. These companies don't just charge inmates or families. They often pay commissions back to the prisons, which means the more calls that are made, the more money the system generates. So something as basic as staying connected becomes a business model. And even though there have been reforms in some places to reduce these costs, the system still generates hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Now let's switch to something else: prison labor, because this is where the economics become even more complex. In many correctional facilities, inmates work jobs inside the prison. Some clean the facilities, some cook meals, but others work on projects that generate real revenue: manufacturing, packaging, agriculture, even call center support. And how much are they paid? In some cases, as little as cents per hour, not dollars, cents. Meanwhile, the value of the work being produced can be worth millions. In certain cases, prison labor programs have been used to produce furniture, clothing, and even assist in public services. For example, there have been cases where inmates have helped fight wildfires, doing dangerous work, for a fraction of what trained professionals earn. Now think about that for a second. You have a workforce that can't negotiate wages, can't leave the job, and is paid far below market value. From a business perspective, that's extremely low-cost labor, but from a human perspective, it raises serious questions. Now here's something else most people don't think about. Even after inmates earn money, a portion of that money can be taken for fees for restitution, fees for room and board, fees for services inside the prison. So even the small amount earned doesn't always fully go back to them. Now let's talk about communication again, because it doesn't stop at phone calls. There are also charges for emails, video visits. Even sending money can come with fees, so families on the outside are constantly paying into the system just to stay connected. Now step back for a second, because when you put all of this together, you start to see something bigger. This isn't just one way of making money. It's a system, a pipeline. Let's follow the money. An arrest happens. That triggers court fees. If convicted, that triggers incarceration funding. Inside prison, money is made from labor, phone calls, commissary, then after release, probation fees, monitoring fees. This isn't one revenue stream. It's multiple, stacked on top of each other. And here's something most people don't think about. There are towns where prisons are one of the biggest employers, which means local economies depend on incarceration. Think about that. Jobs, businesses, entire communities connected to keeping the system running. Now, let's talk about something even deeper. The cycle. Because when people leave prison, you'd think the system would invest heavily in helping them succeed. But in many cases, resources are limited, which leads to higher chances of reoffending. And if they come back, that's more revenue. Think about that loop: arrest, incarceration, release, rearrest. From a human perspective, it's a failure. But from a business perspective, it's recurring income. And to put this into perspective, some prisons generate more money per year than entire small businesses. But unlike businesses, their customers can't leave. Now let's be clear. Not every part of the system is designed this way, and there are people working inside it trying to create real change, trying to reduce repeat offenses, trying to improve rehabilitation. But the structure itself still has financial incentives built into it, and those incentives matter, because when money is tied to a problem, there's less incentive to eliminate it. Now imagine if, instead of billions going into incarceration, more of that money went into education, mental health, job opportunities, community support. What would happen? Would crime go down? Would fewer people enter the system? And if that happened, what would happen to the business built around it? Because at the end of the day, the prison system isn't just about justice. It's also about economics, supply, demand, and incentives. And once you understand the incentives, you start to understand the outcomes. So now you have to ask yourself, is the system designed to fix the problem or to manage it? Because those are two very different things. And one of them makes a lot more money. If this video made you think differently, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below, because we're breaking down the systems most people never question. And trust me, this is just the beginning.